In 1901, a Russian physician named Ilya Mechnikov traveled to a village in the Caucasus Mountains and found shepherds in their 90s who could still climb ridges that winded men half their age. He asked them what they ate. They showed him a wooden bowl of the same seeds their great-grandfathers had soaked every morning. Mechnikov won the Nobel Prize 7 years later for the theory those seeds inspired. The seeds themselves were forgotten within 2 generations. They aged differently. They walked differently. They carried bodies into their 8th and 9th decades on foods that cost almost nothing. We stopped eating them when grocery stores started selling everything, when convenience replaced knowledge. What the prophets and shepherds ate to stay strong is still out there, still doing the quiet work it has always done. We just forgot how to find it. Number 17 on this list was eaten by Roman soldiers every day of a 20-year enlistment. Number 9 was so valued in ancient Egypt, it was buried in tombs as currency for the afterlife. And number 1 was the humblest food in the Old Testament, yet the prophet who lived on it for 390 days walked out looking younger than when he went in. These 20 seeds were not supplements. They were not trends. They were the quiet foundation of every civilization that wrote the Old Testament, and food companies needed you to forget them. Hit that subscribe button. Let us count down the 20 biblical seeds that kept people looking 20 years younger than the calendar said they were. Number 20. Black cumin. The seed desert grandmothers called the cure for everything but death. It was eaten the plainest way possible. A level teaspoon chewed slowly on an empty stomach and washed down with warm water. No recipe. No cost beyond the seed itself. Bedouin women gave it to their husbands before sunrise, every morning of a marriage that lasted 60 years. A woman with arthritic hands did not need to cook it, only to measure it. Found in the tomb of Tutankhamun, mentioned in Isaiah, quiet, patient, almost free. Number 19. Flax. Before the linen sheet, flax was breakfast. Women ground it between 2 flat stones, mixed it with water, and stirred it into the morning porridge. A tablespoon for every bowl. Egyptian priests ate it before temple service because a clean body was a strong body. The widow grinding flax at dawn was not thinking about hormones. She was thinking about a husband who needed to walk to the field. Hippocrates prescribed it 400 years before Christ for women whose faces had begun to soften. The grain was cheap. The result was not. Number 18. Sesame. Assyrian kings drank wine pressed from it. Babylonian soldiers carried the paste in leather pouches on long marches because it kept them strong on almost no water. Mothers rolled it into honey balls, one for each child at breakfast. A handful of seeds, a spoon of honey, pressed by hand, eaten standing. A mother with 6 children could feed all of them on a single cup. Rich in sesamin, the Talmud called it one of the 7 pillars of a long life. We relegated it to a bun topping. Number 17. Barley. Roman legionaries were called hordearii, the barley men, and they ate it every day of a 20-year enlistment. The preparation was simple. A cup of cracked barley, 3 cups of water, and a pinch of salt simmered until the grain burst open. It was eaten warm, with a drizzle of oil, or with nothing at all. A soldier prepared his own portion in his own tin cup over the night fire. It marched with him 30 miles under a full pack. In the book of Ruth, barley is what Boaz gives the widow, so she will not grow old in hunger. The grain of endurance. Number 16. Pomegranate seeds. 613 in every fruit, the rabbis said. 1 for every commandment. Women ate them raw. scooping the arils straight from the fruit by hand or pressing them into a cold paste with water and salt. Sticky fingers, red lips, no cooking. Solomon planted orchards of them. Egyptian women ate the seeds by the handful to keep their skin taut in the desert sun. They did not know the word punicalagan. They only knew the women who ate pomegranate kept their faces longer than the women who did not. Number 15. Mustard. The smallest seed in the parable, chosen deliberately because everyone in that crowd knew it grew into something disproportionate to its size. Mountain people in Galilee cracked the seed between two stones, soaked it overnight, and ate a teaspoon at first light. A clay pot of soaked mustard cost nothing and lasted a week. A shepherd carried it in a pouch. A widow measured it for her sons. It kept the liver young when the liver was the first thing to age. A seed the size of a grain of sand, doing the work of a pharmacy. Number 14. TIA. Not a modern invention. The salvia family grew wild across the ancient Near East and appears in records from the same centuries the Gospels were written. Desert travelers soaked a tablespoon in a cup of water overnight. By morning, it had thickened into a cold gel, eaten in 3 swallows before sunrise. One cup carried a messenger to the next village. Couriers who ran letters between Jerusalem and Damascus lived on nothing else for 3 days at a time. They arrived on foot, unbroken, into their 60s. The ancients did not run for sport. They ran because the village was far. Number 13. Coriander. Mentioned in Exodus. Compared to the manna that fell from heaven. The seed was cracked with a wooden pestle, sprinkled into every stew, and chewed whole after dinner. A small bowl sat on the table the way a salt shaker sits on ours. Egyptian tombs contained jars of it. Hippocrates prescribed it for swollen joints. The widow grinding coriander into her stew was protecting her husband's skin without ever knowing the word glycation. The sugar in the blood is what ages the face. Grandmothers knew. Laboratories are only catching up. Number 12. Lentils. Esau sold his birthright for a bowl, and the Old Testament tells the story without apology because everyone who heard it understood the trade. Red lentils, water, onion, a pinch of cumin, simmered until they collapsed into a thick stew. A single pot fed a family of 8 for 2 days. A mother with bad knees could cook it sitting down. A grandmother with failing eyesight did not need to measure. The stew of the patriarchs was not poverty food. It was the engine of a body that would live 30 more years. We call it thrift. They called it strength. Pause on the arithmetic of what has been lost. A 90-year-old shepherd in the hills of Lebanon in 1900 ate roughly 40 different seeds, grains, and pulses across a lifetime. An average American today eats fewer than 12. The body that built the Old Testament ran on a library of small, dense, oil-rich foods. The body that runs on the modern grocery store runs on a dictionary of 3 words. The ancients did not live longer because they were stronger. They lived longer because their food carried more information. We replaced the library with a billboard. Number 11. Einkorn. Emmer. The grains Moses carried out of Egypt, with a gluten structure the human body recognized for 10,000 years. The bread was made the old way. Stone-ground flour, water, salt. A starter kept alive on the shelf for a decade. Baked in a clay oven. Eaten the same day. A mother baked once a week and the house smelled of it for 3. People who return to ancient wheat today report the digestion their grandparents had. The flour is darker. The bread denser. The aging slower. Number 10. Fenugreek. Egyptian priests embalmed pharaohs with it. Roman women ate it to keep their hair dark. The seeds were soaked overnight in cold water, the bitterness pulled out by morning, and eaten by the spoonful with a drizzle of honey. A clay cup cost a copper. A mother prepared it for her husband and sons before they rose. Greek physicians prescribed it for fading vitality in men past 40. The saponins inside are linked to hormonal balance in aging bodies. Mothers in biblical Canaan did not call it a supplement. They called it breakfast. The men who ate it walked straighter at 60 than men who did not at 40. Number 9. Caraway. So valued in ancient Egypt, it was buried in tombs as currency for the afterlife. A pharaoh crossing into the next world needed it the way he needed gold. The practice was simple. A pinch chewed after every meal, straight from a small tin kept in a pocket or on a shelf by the table. No cooking, no cost beyond the seed. The Romans borrowed it from the Egyptians. The Germans borrowed it from the Romans. Grandmothers still carry the tin. The quiet secret of longevity is a gut that does not leak. Caraway kept it sealed. Number 8. Dill. Jesus mentioned it in Matthew 23 as something even the Pharisees tithed, meaning it was valuable enough to be counted. The seed was sprinkled on bread before baking, chewed raw after meals, and dropped into every pickling jar in the household. A small bowl of dill lived on the Galilean table. Egyptian physicians prescribed it for the tired eyes of scribes. Greek soldiers chewed it on long campaigns to keep gums strong. Jewish women ate it with every meal, and their faces in the desert sun did not crack the way a Western face cracks today. Cheap, eternal, forgotten. Number 7. Anise. Roman wedding cakes were baked with it because it was believed to protect the youthful appearance of the bride. The seeds were pressed into the dough, ground into warm milk at night, and chewed plain after heavy meals. A mother-in-law measured the spoonful. A bride drank the cup. Pliny the Elder wrote that anise kept the face young past the age when other faces began to fall. Anethole, the active compound, is studied now for what it does to estrogen pathways in aging women. The Romans did not need studies. They had mirrors. Number 6. Hemp. Hemp was grown across the ancient Near East since before the pyramids. The seed, not the leaf, was food. Soaked overnight, pressed into a coarse flour, baked into small, flat cakes, a worker carried into the field. One cake at midday, one in the evening. A complete protein containing every essential amino acid and an omega ratio that the modern diet destroys. The Essenes, the desert community that preserved the Dead Sea Scrolls, are believed to have eaten hemp seed daily, and they were known in the ancient world for unusual longevity. The seed was banned in America for reasons that had nothing to do with food. It has only recently returned. In 2013, researchers at the University of California published a study on the dietary patterns of centenarians across the Mediterranean and the Caucasus. The finding was simple. The single strongest predictor of looking 20 years younger at 80 was not exercise, not genetics, not sleep. It was the number of different seeds, grains, and pulses a person had eaten every week since childhood. Not the amount. The variety. A shepherd's wife who ate 12 different seeds a week aged visibly slower than a city woman who ate 3. No pill can be made from variety. No company can patent a grandmother's shelf. Number 5. Millet. Ezekiel 4:9 names it alongside wheat, barley, beans, and lentils as the grains God instructed a prophet to eat for 390 days. The preparation was plain. A cup of hulled millet, 3 cups of water, a pinch of salt, simmered until soft. Eaten warm, cold, or dried into hard cakes for travel. A mother made a single pot in the morning, and it fed the household all day. The ancients knew millet steadied the blood sugar that quietly wrinkles the face from the inside. African villages that still eat it produce people who look 20 years younger than their birth certificates say. We feed it to birds. Number 4. Spelt, the grain of Ezekiel's bread. Higher in protein than modern wheat. Lower in starch. Carrying a structure the human gut recognized for 6,000 years. The preparation never changed. Cracked grain, water, a starter older than the oldest person in the household, kneaded at dawn, baked at midday. A single loaf fed 4 people through a hard day of work. A grandmother taught her granddaughter the feel of the dough. Roman gladiators ate spelt porridge every morning. Their bodies did not carry the inflammation that ages a face from the inside. Small mills in Europe never stopped milling it. Supermarkets never started. Number 3. Poppy. Mentioned in Talmudic texts as the seed that calmed the body and protected sleep. The old remedy was plain. A level spoonful of poppy seeds crushed into a cup of warm milk, drunk at the last light of day. A Babylonian mother made it for a restless child. A Polish grandmother made it for a husband who could not sleep. The minerals inside, calcium, magnesium, trace compounds, ease the body into the kind of deep sleep that writes youth back into the face overnight. People who slept deeply in their 60s looked like people in their 40s. We swapped the seed for pills that age the liver. Number 2. Cumin. Isaiah 28 describes threshing it with a stick because the seed was too delicate for a cartwheel. It was precious. A small jar sat on every table from Jerusalem to Damascus. A pinch ground into every pot of lentils, every loaf of bread, every cup of warm water taken at morning. A widow measured it by the grain. A soldier carried it in a fold of cloth. Egyptian priests, Roman centurions, Jewish grandmothers, all of them ate it daily into their 80s. People who ate cumin every day looked like people in their 60s when they were 75. Number 1, a single dried bean. Not a variety, not a recipe. Just whatever bean was in the clay jar at the back of the kitchen, soaked overnight, simmered from sunrise to noon with a bay leaf and a pinch of salt, eaten with a torn piece of bread. That was the meal. A woman with nothing else on the shelf still had this. A prophet in the wilderness lived on it. A widow fed her children on it. It cost a copper, and it kept a family alive. The ancients who ate a bowl every day aged slower than the kings who did not. The humblest food in the Old Testament, the quietest secret it ever kept. These 20 seeds fed the prophets, the patriarchs, the shepherds, and the soldiers who built the world the Old Testament describes. They were not health food. They were just food, eaten every day by people who did not know what an antioxidant was and did not need to. The face ages from the inside. Every grandmother who ever lived knew this before anyone put a name on it. The ancients did not look younger because they were lucky. They looked younger because they ate what the land gave them, in the form the land gave it. We replaced those seeds with food engineered to last on a shelf. We replaced grandmothers with marketing. We replaced 3,000 years of slow wisdom with the fast promise of a serum in a glass bottle. The seeds never disappeared. A jar of black cumin costs less than a single anti-aging cream. A pound of millet costs less than a bottle of vitamins. The knowledge was never lost. It was just buried under everything louder. The next vault opens soon,